The Australian tour has now produced what may be its defining image, and it is not a flattering one.
Despicable fake tears at Bondi Beach, using a terrorist atrocity to sell her shitty clothing. On stage at the not sold out Her Best Life retreat for just 122 minutes before deciding to be booed at the football alongside her husband Prince Harry.
Meghan Markle visited Bondi Beach, the site of an Islamist terror attack in which 15 people were killed while celebrating a Jewish religious holiday, and the outfit she wore during that visit was listed for sale on her fashion platform within hours of the visit, concluding a massacre site turned into a marketing opportunity. That is not a characterization. That is what happened. Let me be precise about the sequence of events, because precision matters here. Harry and Meghan visited Bondi Beach as part of their Australian tour. The visit was presented as a solemn moment of reflection and solidarity with victims of a devastating act of violence.
Absolutely a case of this.
Now make yourself cry.
Yeah. Oh, I can do that so well. Oh my God, it's crazy. You're like, Meghan, one tear, left eye, go.
Yeah.
Give me 3 seconds.
Yeah, we know. We know that's what you did. As that one said, Meghan's most difficult acting part so far, alongside this video, making it abundantly clear that she was faking it.
Meghan met with survivors and families. Tears were shed. The visit generated significant international coverage. And then the outfit Meghan was wearing during those interactions, during the conversations with people who lost family members, during the moments of apparent grief and solidarity, was uploaded to the one-off platform with links to purchase the individual items, generating commission for Meghan on every sale.
It really shouldn't need saying, but when you are meeting people affected by an anti-Semitic mass shooting, making a quick buck off the event is a revolting dereliction of one's duty. And then he says, not as a royal, as a human. He went on, selling the clothes off her own back at the site of a massacre where 15 people died might come easily to Meghan, but like any right-minded person, I find this sickening. Well done, Tom Sykes. So do I.
Tom Sykes, a journalist who has been generally regarded as fair-minded in his coverage of the Sussexes, published a piece on his Substack that was unambiguous in its assessment. He wrote that Meghan had turned a massacre site into an online shopping mall. He said that selling the clothes off her own back at the site of a massacre where 15 people died was a revolting dereliction of duty, not as a royal, but as a human being. Those are strong words from someone who has been notably measured in his approach to this story. The fact that he felt the need to use them tells you something about how this specific incident landed even among people who have given the Sussexes significant benefit of the doubt. And this is not an isolated incident within the tour. The outfit worn during the visit to the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, where children receiving cancer treatment were brought to an atrium for a photo call, was also uploaded to the platform on the same day. The outfit worn during the Veterans Arts event was uploaded. Every public appearance, every location where Meghan's clothing was visible, generated content for the fashion platform and commission for her personal income. The charitable visits, the hospital stops, the solemn moments at sites of tragedy, all of it monetized through the same mechanism.
122 minutes. That was all. Because Meghan decided it was more important to join her husband, Prince Harry, at a Waratahs game. And by the way, no one was happy to see her there either.
In front of a couple of big names in the form of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, just checking in there with Phil War, I believe John.
The Queen, by all accounts, warned this couple specifically about this. She understood from 7 decades of operating at the intersection of royal duty and public scrutiny that the moment you combine a life of service with a life of profit, both are corrupted. The service becomes suspect because it may be primarily motivated by commercial opportunity. The profit becomes ugly because it is generated through the goodwill and the suffering of people who deserve better. Harry and Meghan were given that advice and they ignored it. And the Australian tour is what that decision looks like in practice.
Did you pick up on that? I did. And so Harry and Meghan knew that there wasn't a big sort of hysteria around having them there, positive. So they tried to turn it on, of course, knowing that they were being viewed, and this was effectively a photo opportunity. So they were.
Now let's talk about the Her Best Life retreat, because it has produced its own chapter of the tour story. The retreat was held at the Intercontinental in Bondi Beach in Sydney. Tickets cost thousands of dollars. And despite that pricing and all the promotional activity around Meghan's appearance, the event did not sell out. The people who did attend, having paid significant sums for what was promised as a meaningful, extended experience with Meghan, received 122 minutes of her time. Not a day, not a morning. 122 minutes. After which, Meghan decided it was more important to join Harry at a rugby match. Think about what that means for the people in that room. They paid thousands of dollars. They may have traveled significant distances. They arranged time away from work and family, and they received just over 2 hours before Meghan determined that a sporting event was a more pressing priority. Whatever her reasons, and the rugby match presumably offered better photo opportunities and broader media coverage than the interior of a hotel event space, the message sent to the paying attendees was clear. They were not the priority. The cameras were the priority. And when the cameras moved to the rugby ground, so did Meghan.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful place. It's like, if it wouldn't be that far, I would go more often. It's like 5.5 hours.
She knows what she has to do. She knows what she has to do.
The rugby match itself produced footage that became significant in its own right. When Harry and Meghan appeared on the big screen inside the ground, the reaction was notable primarily for what it was not. There were no sustained cheers. There was no warmth or enthusiasm from the crowd. What there was, according to someone inside the ground, was silence, punctuated by scattered boos. The couple, aware that the moment was not going as hoped, attempted to compensate with waves to the crowd and a moment of physical affection for the cameras. But the underlying reaction of the people in that stadium, people who had not paid to see Harry and Meghan, but happened to find them on the big screen, was the most honest, real-time feedback the tour has generated. Indifference, moving in some sections toward active disapproval. This is the contrast that the tour keeps producing and that the operational planning documents cannot paper over.
Posted, as a former teacher, Meghan's interaction with this little girl is unsettling. She deliberately avoids eye contact so the child understands the interaction is over, even as the girl tries to keep her attention. This isn't new behavior because she seems to be good at it. Meghan knows exactly how to shut children down when she's finished with them. It's disgusting, in my opinion.
When the audience is managed, when it is corralled in a hospital atrium, or selected through a paid retreat, or gathered at a carefully orchestrated event, you can control the response. When the audience is genuinely random, when it is the ordinary people at a rugby match who have no particular stake in the Sussex visit and no reason to perform enthusiasm, the reception is considerably cooler.
And by the way, anyone who thinks that Meghan's new AI website to sell her clothes is in some way turning her into a fashion icon, I think is wrong. I actually agree with Shane Watson in the Daily Mail, who wrote, "Who on earth would want to buy any of Meghan's Australian looks? They're stiff, impractical, and worst of all..."
The Bondi Beach crowds told the same story. The footage shows a beach that was busy because Bondi Beach is always busy. It is one of Sydney's most visited tourist attractions. The people present were not there for Harry and Meghan. They happened to be there, as they would have been on any pleasant Sydney day, and they were briefly in proximity to a Sussex walkabout that was being photographed and filmed by a significant media contingent. The impression of a warm public welcome that some media coverage tried to generate was not supported by the footage of what was actually happening on the beach.
To royal YouTube sensation P. Diner now, who has been following the escapades of this tour all week. And P. Diner, it started badly, okay, with that stunt at the Australian hospital. But I would argue this final day, P. Diner, has been even more morally repugnant.
Now let's address the Bondi Beach visit in more depth, because it raises questions that go beyond the fashion platform controversy. Harry and Meghan were in Jordan relatively recently, and during that visit they attended events at an organization that had connections to individuals with documented anti-Israel positions. The specifics of those connections were reported at the time and contested, but the basic facts of the visit are not in dispute, and the Bondi Beach massacre was an explicitly anti-Semitic act of Islamist terrorism. The victims were celebrating a Jewish religious holiday. The attack was motivated by specific religious hatred. The decision to visit Bondi Beach in that context, to stand at that specific site of that specific atrocity and perform solidarity with the victims, required either a lack of awareness about how the two things would be connected, or a calculation that the image value of the Bondi visit outweighed the reputational risk of the obvious question about consistency. Based on the sophistication of the Sussex communications operation in every other area, lack of awareness seems unlikely, which leaves calculation. And the calculation, combined with the fashion platform monetization of the visit, produces a picture that is genuinely difficult to look at without discomfort. The broader institutional question that has emerged from the tour is one that is generating significant discussion in British royal commentary.
Very dead eyes. Her eyes are so hollow and shallow, and I can see the grift when I look at her eyes. It's disgusting. We can't forget when she went to Uvalde. She flew to Uvalde just to take pictures at a memorial site of children who were killed at a school.
Charles has not moved to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles. He has not initiated any formal process regarding Harry's place in the line of succession. The palace's position, according to well-placed sources, is that the institution should roll with the punches and keep moving forward, rather than take any action that might give the Sussexes a new grievance to exploit. This is a comprehensible position from a purely tactical standpoint. Every action the palace takes becomes material for the Sussex narrative. If Charles strips the titles, Harry and Meghan have a new chapter about persecution and institutional cruelty to write. If Harry is removed from the line of succession, it generates a wave of coverage that the Sussex communications machine will position as vindication of everything they have said about the institution. The palace has learned from 5 years of experience that engagement tends to amplify rather than resolve. But the do-nothing position has its own costs.
Life, which was the real grift of the tour, right? Because she's actually asking genuine fans to hand over thousands and thousands of dollars to spend time at what was effectively a high-class booze cruise, and yet she doesn't bother to stay. She doesn't stay there, P. Dinah. She gets out as quickly as possible.
Friends of William and Catherine have been explicit about their view that what the Sussexes are doing on this tour, what they have been doing for years, is genuinely dangerous for the monarchy. The specific concern raised by one friend of the couple is about cancer victims being used as props to help the Sussexes make money. That is not a fringe view. It is the view of people close to the future of the institution about the present conduct of people who are using the institution's name and status for commercial purposes while operating outside any of its accountability structures. Queen Elizabeth understood this problem completely. The advice she gave, that service and profit cannot be combined without corrupting both, was not just institutional wisdom. It was an understanding of what it means to ask someone to trust you with their vulnerability. When a sick child is brought to a hospital atrium, or a grieving family agrees to meet a visiting couple at a massacre site, or a woman at a homeless shelter accepts food from a visitor, those interactions are based on a form of trust. The trust that the visitor is there for the person being visited, not for their own agenda. The moment that trust is violated, the moment the interaction becomes content, becomes a marketing opportunity, becomes fashion platform inventory. Something irreversible has happened to the relationship between the visited and the visitor. This is what the Queen tried to prevent. This is what her advice was designed to avoid. And this is precisely what has happened in Australia repeatedly and visibly over the course of a week that has produced hospital atrium stunts and Bondi Beach fashion listings and 122 minutes at a retreat before the cameras moved to a more photogenic location. The investigation that has now been launched into the children's hospital visit is a significant development. The idea that a hospital allowed seriously ill children to be brought to an atrium for a media photo call, that this decision was made by adults with responsibility for those children's welfare, has prompted calls for accountability from people across the political spectrum, from Trevor Phillips to Meghan Kelly, as noted. The investigation will presumably examine who approved the setup, what protocols were followed or not followed, and what the hospital's policies around patient privacy and dignity require in similar situations. Whatever it finds, the fact that it is happening at all is a measure of how seriously the Melbourne hospital visit has been taken by people who are not part of the Sussex commentary ecosystem. William and Catherine, watching all of this, are the future of the institution that is currently being used as a commercial backdrop and a source of grievance narrative by the people who left it. Their friends have made their views clear. The Wales camp understands what is at stake. They understand that the combination of royal adjacency and commercial opportunism that the Australian tour has put on display is not just damaging to Harry and Meghan, it is damaging to the monarchy itself, to the trust that the institution depends on, to the relationship between the Crown and the public, that Catherine in particular has worked consistently and unglamorously to maintain and strengthen. The tour is winding down, the images are out, the fashion listings are up, the investigation is underway, the booing at the rugby match has been recorded, the 122 minutes have been noted, and the Bondi Beach visit, the massacre site that became, within hours, an online shopping opportunity, will be the thing that people remember when they look back at what the Australian Sussex tour of 2025 actually was. Not the Invictus moments, which were genuine, not the veterans events, where Harry's authentic connection was visible, not whatever positive outcomes may have come from some of the charitable interactions. What people will remember is the fashion listing at Bondi Beach, because it is, in its way, the clearest and most honest expression of what this entire tour was fundamentally about. Not service, not solidarity, not the gentle, unglamorous work of actually helping people. Commercial opportunity, pursued through every available mechanism, at every available moment, including the ones where decency would have suggested a pause. The Queen knew. She tried to tell them. They didn't listen. And this is what not listening looks like. Let me add some broader context to what the Bondi Beach moment reveals about the structural problem at the heart of the Sussex operation, because I think it deserves more than simply being recorded as a bad look on a troubled tour. The fashion platform monetization at Bondi Beach is not a mistake. It is not an oversight. It is not a case of someone in the Sussex communications team failing to think through the optics before uploading the listing.
So this grift that she has going on in Australia, remember that people of a very high level in Hollywood are watching this, and they see what she is doing, and they're not fooled by her. You know, she was pinned the disaster tourist, right, by Justine Bateman. So yeah, they know what Meghan is all about, and she's going to grift and keep doing it. And it seems like she's found the people that will help her grift.
The one-off platform is a deliberate, sustained commercial strategy. Every public appearance generates content. Every outfit is potential inventory. The system is designed to capture every moment of public visibility and convert it into commercial revenue. That is what the system does. It does not make exceptions for hospital wards or massacre sites, because the system is not designed with exceptions in mind. It is designed for maximum extraction.
Absolutely. And I think when you look at what Meghan is doing, it is, I believe, it's criminal. It's criminal to sell clothing, to sell your wares off of the backs of tragedy. Who would allow this, especially with your branding of the title? How can this even happen? I mean, there needs to be protections to the people who are being grifted. They are the ones that need protection.
This is what happens when commercial logic is applied without the restraint that genuine service imposes. Genuine service says there are places where commerce stops. There are moments where the transaction must not happen. There are people whose vulnerability cannot be monetized without violating something fundamental about the relationship between the powerful and the vulnerable. Commercial logic says every moment has value, every image is an asset, every location is a potential backdrop, every interaction is content. The Queen's advice was essentially an assertion that genuine service requires the first kind of thinking, that the moment you allow commercial logic to govern interactions with vulnerable people, you have made those interactions fundamentally dishonest. The people you are visiting think you are there for them, but you are there for what the visit can generate for you. That is a form of deception, even if it is never stated explicitly. And Harry and Meghan, who have claimed throughout this entire saga that they want to be authentic, that they want to be free from the dishonesty of institutional life, that they are building something genuinely real. They have constructed an operation that is, in this specific and important respect, more dishonest than the institution they left. The palace does not monetize royal visits to sick children. It does not upload the outfit worn during a survivors meeting to a fashion commission platform. The constraints and protocols that Harry found suffocating are precisely the things that prevented this kind of behavior.
They are helping.
Exactly, they're in on it. They're in on it, which is the growing suggestion.
But you know what, when I think about the hospital, how is it that she's allowed to go to this hospital? The administrators are clearly told to allow this to happen. I think we have clear proof, yes, that they are being backed by the monarchy, I believe.
Now, let me also address the Operation Thor reports, because they add an important dimension to the question of what all this is actually building toward. Richard Eden at the Daily Mail has written about what he calls an establishment plot, the suggestion that parts of the British establishment, including figures like Boris Johnson, have been working behind the scenes to make it more palatable for Harry and Meghan to return to Britain long term. The argument, as Eden describes it, is that a managed Sussex return would be better for the monarchy than the ongoing drip of damaging content from California. If this is true, and Eden is a careful journalist with strong palace connections, it would explain some things about the Australian tour that have seemed puzzling. Specifically, why the British media coverage has been notably warmer than might be expected, and why the palace has taken a conspicuously hands-off approach to the controversy the tour has generated. If there is a plan in the background to eventually bring Harry and Meghan back into some kind of association with the British establishment, it would make sense to avoid the kind of overt institutional hostility that would make any such return impossible. But the friends of William and Catherine have made their views on this very clear. The Wales camp understands better than anyone what the Sussex operation actually is and what it costs. They have been watching from a closer vantage point than most as the institution is used as a backdrop and a source of grievance narrative for a commercial enterprise that operates outside all of its accountability structures. And the concern expressed that cancer victims can end up looking like props to help the Sussexes make money, and that this is extremely dangerous for the monarchy, is not a concern that will be resolved by a managed return. If anything, a return that legitimizes what has been happening in Australia would make things considerably worse. The fundamental problem is not geographic. Harry and Meghan being in California rather than Britain is not what makes the Australian tour what it is. The fundamental problem is the approach. The commercial extraction from charitable contexts, the fashion listings at massacre sites, the corralled crowds in hospital atriums, the fake royal tour structure with real royal titles and taxpayer-funded police protection. These things would not stop being problems if Harry and Meghan were based in Windsor rather than Montecito. They are problems because of what Harry and Meghan have chosen to be, not because of where they have chosen to live. Any establishment plot to engineer a Sussex return needs to grapple with this honestly. The question is not how to make it politically manageable for Harry and Meghan to come back to Britain. The question is whether Harry and Meghan are willing to change how they operate in any fundamental way. And everything about the Australian tour, every fashion listing, every corralled crowd, every performance of solidarity that is monetized within hours, suggests that the answer to that question is no. not because they are incapable of change, but because the commercial operation requires them not to change. The moment they stop monetizing every appearance and every interaction, the revenue model collapses. And the revenue model is what funds the lifestyle. So we arrive at the same place we always arrive, the structural trap that has no clean exit. The commercial operation requires the behavior that makes genuine service impossible. The royal identity that makes the commercial operation valuable requires the appearance of service. The appearance of service without the reality of it produces exactly the kind of moments the Australian tour has produced. And those moments, accumulating over time, erode the credibility and the commercial value of the Sussex brand, which creates more financial pressure, which requires more aggressive extraction of commercial value from every available opportunity, which produces more moments like Bondi Beach. The investigation into the Melbourne hospital visit is a small but potentially significant moment in this cycle, because investigations require answers. They require accountability from the people who made the decisions. They require the hospital to explain why it allowed the atrium setup. They may require Harry and Meghan's team to explain what was discussed in the planning process. And answers, in this context, have a way of producing more questions. Who approved the setup? What did the health and safety protocols require? Was the decision to bring cancer patients to a public atrium for a photo call consistent with the hospital's stated commitment to patient dignity? These are not unanswerable questions. And the answers, when they come, will add another chapter to the account of what the Australian tour actually was.
P. the establishment plot thickens, and he reveals the fears inside Catherine and William's camp as Harry and Meghan put on a royal show down under, as rumours about the couple's return to Britain swirl. And he wrote, "What we are seeing shows why the Queen, as in Queen Elizabeth II, was right not to allow Harry and Meghan to mix money-making with royal duties," one friend of William and Catherine tells me.
William and Catherine are watching. They are the future of the institution. And they are watching an approach to royal adjacency that their closest friends have described as extremely dangerous to the monarchy. They do not have the power in the short term to change what Harry and Meghan are doing, but they do have the long game. They have decades of consistent, unglamorous service, building something real that does not need fashion platform commissions or corralled crowds or operational planning documents distributed to friendly media. They have the trust of the British public and the love of the institution that Harry walked away from. And they have the understanding, clearly and precisely stated by those around them, that what is being done in Australia is not compatible with what the monarchy is for. The tour concludes. The investigation begins. The fashion listings remain available. And somewhere at Bondi Beach, the gap between what was said and what was done, between the tears and the transaction, between the solidarity and the sell, remains as wide as it was the moment the outfit went online. The Queen tried to prevent this. She could not. And now the institution she devoted her life to is left dealing with the consequences of a couple who took her titles, her goodwill, her forbearance, and her name and turned them into content.